that there is this almost like people are looking at the world with blinders, where if you are in a city like Bombay, you think that all of society is a reflection of Bombay. So, for example, even female liberation, women liberation looks like how the women in Bombay look like.
So, hello everybody to another episode of the Gangs of Cinepur podcast. And today I have two very special guests with me, the director producer duo of the very unique and crazy film that I watched recently, Fairy Folk. And welcome Karan, who is the director of the film, Karan Gour, and Anukampa, who has produced the film. So, first of all, congratulations on the success of the film, especially now that it's online and a lot of people are watching it. So,
Thanks.
I want to start asking Karan first, very obvious question. How did the whole idea of this film come up? Because, frankly speaking, this is unlike anything I have seen before, at least from Indian cinema.
Hmm.
And, the whole aspect of incorporating folklore and magical realism and whatever you might want to call it, because eventually it's up to the interpretation of the audience, uh,
Yeah.
into an urban setting, that too. It's not a folklore in the conventional sense. So how did you come up with something like this?
It wasn't like I don't think it was a intentional choice of like making it into magical realism or using elements like that, like that thing that sort of comes from the jungle and those things. I think it sort of came from just writing from like one scene to another and not thinking too much about it. So it's like just writing more from a feeling rather than writing from very specific themes and things like that. I can't write thematically. I don't know how people do. Some people can just write. They say that they have a theme in mind and now they're going to write everything based on that, and then the movie comes out like that. And so I have a tough time doing that. So instead, I would just write from the characters, and if there's a relationship of the characters, then exploring that relationship and seeing where it goes. So at the very first instance, I thought that if there is a couple that is everything is sort of on the surface going really well for them, and some being sort of enters their life, as is the first scene itself, then how would we sort of expand from that point forward? Like what what are the chinks in the armor that would sort of create, if that's the thing? And I think somebody else had also pointed out that it doesn't necessarily have to be this thing that has come from the jungle. I mean, that has different metaphors as well as a part of that, but it could have been anything. It could have been like a new, I don't know, music system that the man has decided to go and purchase, or he's found a piano on the side of the road, which is the case in Punch Drunk Love or one of those movies. So just a sudden change within a relationship and how that sort of goes through the entire relationship of that. And I thought doing it in an improvised manner with the dialogues not written at all and the actors coming up with it, I think that adds this whole other layer of variety and like difference and uniqueness about it, which, because movies are usually written before and then each line has a reason to exist and each line has to say something about the subtext and all those things. And if you just throw that out of the window and see where you land up, you start like we're sort of coloring through using like the darkness rather than the light. Like how you would outline a shape is what traditional writing would be, but in this case we're not outlining anything, we're just shading in the edges and seeing like what shapes form out of that sort of thing. So that's where we were going.
Yeah, I get it. And that's how improv in general works. I think, like I have watched some improv theater performances, not in India, but when I used to stay in Switzerland for my
Yeah.
PhD, I saw some of those, and it was fascinating because it's it requires a lot of presence of mind besides the skill itself, because you are already in front of an audience and performing. But
Yeah.
maybe for a film shooting, it works a bit differently because you can redo it, probably.
But
But then it's not improv in the correct sense. Yeah.
so you can't do what you're saying. You are not allowed to do it again. If you do it
Hmm.
again, then you have to do it differently again. You can't do the same thing again and try to iron it out. Then you destroy then
Right,
it's
right.
no longer fun. And also it can't, like, the actors have a tough time doing that when you do it with a film camera involved. So when they're on stage, because they're taking audience inputs and they're reacting in the present moment to the audience that exists and the person in front of them, it's a little easier to forget that, to
Hmm.
just stay in the moment. So once you bring the camera in, their traditional acting sense sort of comes in, especially for actors who are experienced. So they're so used to remembering text, getting to a position where the camera person is told them to get to for focus pulling and all those things. It's hard for them to break out of it. Once they break out of it, then they can't. Then they have a tough time going back to the traditional method as well, which is what is
Right.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So now I'll come to Anukampa. First of all, thanks for taking up the initiative for producing something like this. And I would like to know what made you interested in this project and how did you two get together and how did things work out to begin with?
I think my producing journey on this film was also very improvised. So I think the golden rule of improv is yes and I think that's exactly how things kept on happening for me to eventually become the producer on the film. So as you can see from Karan's style of working and his vision, this is not something that is typical of a studio system. He is so unique in his voice, and the minute you get um, a traditional producer in, they will come in with the market sensibilities
Hmm.
and like we have had narrations where they have been like, "Ye kya suna humne?" We didn't understand. And I think for Karan, it's very important to have a producing partner who gets what he is doing, even if not exactly in terms of the vision, but at least is supportive. And from that point of view, I think his first choice obviously was Shan because they have worked together on Share and they have a very, very old friendship. And Shan at that point in time was busy producing a film called Little Thomas, and he'd already committed to that and was going to the market and whatnot with that. So he was just trying to help Karan set it up. And he introduced me. We had just begun dating. He introduced me to Karan as a potential actor in the film, and
Oh,
that was my first role that I met Karan, and he thought, okay, fine, you could play Isha, and I read the script, and because I was anyways a little unemployed at that point in time, because as actors tend to be between projects, I had just finished shooting for something, and I was free. I told him that, listen, I'm going to help with the casting, and the next thing I know, Shan was auditioning actors over here. I started reading lines with them. The next thing I know, I become the casting director, putting out casting calls. And then I think after having met a few people, Karan realized that perhaps he need not look outside for a producer. He could turn to me. And when he asked me, he didn't know that I had a childhood dream of, Balawala cinema was something I always wanted to have, go forward and tell stories which are unique and also mine and personal. So I said, yeah, let's do this. And it was an absolutely improvised process of producing as well.
hmm. And for people who have not seen the film yet, you will see that Anukampa has a cameo in the end, an important one, and she's looking very beautiful. I have already complimented her
Thanks.
on DM. And so actually, Anukampa, I have been following I mean, social media for a while. We have known each other for what I think now 4 years or something.
Wow. Yeah.
And so one of your posts was, apologizing to producers about not getting their due credit or saying that producing is a thankless job, and you understood that better after you produced a film yourself. So, would you like to shed some light on it? Why do you feel like that? And is that especially for independent films, or is it also the case for, mainstream commercial cinema? What do you think?
I would say it's applicable to all of cinema, generically speaking. Uh, I mean, think about it. Which of our favorite films can we name? We will know the actors, we will know the directors. How many of us know the producers? I mean, I can think of Citizen Kane, and unless and until it's the director who has produced it, I do not know who the producer of the film is. Of course, I understand that with the studio system, it's a little impersonal because, for example, if you're watching Game of Thrones uh, or House of the Dragon right now, you know it's an HBO production. You do not know the
Hmm.
exact people who have made that happen. So I understand that when we had MGM and all the other big names, we
The
may not
big
have known
houses,
the,
yeah.
yeah, the big houses. We may not have known the individuals who made things happen, but we almost see producers as people who lack creative sense. And maybe we confuse financiers with producers. Is it financiers or is it financiers? I always get very confused. Uh,
Financiers, I think.
Financiers, right? So people are putting in the money. I understand that okay, they put in the money and they forget about it. They're only interested with the profit and loss, uh, ratio. And yes, but people who are actively producing, and I've seen my mother also, right? Because when she came to Bombay, I've said this many times, she began producing with money called Kumar Sani, which was very independent. And the again, like us, the setup was very small, and you are literally taking calls on very, very small things as well, and the bigger things as well. It's not simply about managing money. And I don't think anybody asks producers their stories as to what goes into making cinema. And I keep on feeling that I always marvel at, say, the Ten Commandments. I wonder what went into showing the construction of, uh, uh, the pyramids and all. But there must have been a producer who actually made sure that we had those many uh,
Hmm.
featured cast on set and the art directors. And it must have been crazy, but we don't know those stories,
That's true. Yeah.
which is why I feel that producers are very like right now. If I'm writing a film, for me, it's very important a producer comes on board, likes my script, and backs it. But I think once it gets made, it's almost like okay, you can go on the sideline.
Hmm.
And it's very common. As an actor, also, I don't think I have given producers the kind of importance that I give to directors.
Yeah. But so, continuing this discussion, Karan, do you think, there's a better rapport between the producer and the director if you have more creative liberty and if you're working in a space where you don't really have to think of, marketing or money making so much as mainstream films do. So often I have felt like there are some directors who get associated with some big production house and they end up making something that doesn't seem like them. It happens because I feel they're not being given the amount of creative freedom that is needed, or whatever was on paper couldn't really get translated the way they originally envisioned. This ends up happening from time to time. So, do you think you would like to continue working in this kind of space where you have more freedom? Because I don't see how fairy folk could get into a commercial space and reach that kind of audience, which is meant for the masses. So, what do you have to say about this?
Yeah, I don't know. You can get money for these movies, but you will have to listen to a lot of stuff. Like it requires you to change many things. You can't do it your way. It has to be, first of all, there seems to be a gross misunderstanding of filmmaking where it's meant to be a democratized, whatever, the democracy of it. It's not. It's a dictatorship, and
Hmm.
it has to be a dictatorship in a large point of view. It's actually very close to like a German Nazi regiment where Hitler would have his guys, like you would have Goebbels and those guys who he would collaborate with, and you sort of do, you figure out what you need to do. I mean, forget what they were doing, not the actions that they were doing were horrendous, but I'm saying there is an administration that takes decisions, but there's one man on the top or one woman on the top who will make the final decision of, okay, this is what we're going to do. And this person at the top is also the one who has to take the hit when everything collapses and nothing goes well, when you're not being able to release the film, when you're not being able to get the film through an edit, you're taking all those hits because you have made the decisions to do that. Now, I think that when you get more money into a project, those people who are coming with more money all want a seat at the table as well of decision making. When that is incorrect, like when you get a producer on board, the producer is making the film happen logistically and creatively and helping you with those processes. But like Anukampa, for example, is still, when she was producing, when we were making the film, she was never saying, uh, Karan, you have to do this. It was always, what do you want to do, and let's try to make that happen. You know, that's how you get a good producer. You don't get a good producer of, ये ना मुझे समझ में ये ना पीछे से ना ये लोग बोल रहे हैं कि यार ये करना है, we have to do it like this, Karan. Please try and see if you can do it like this. Now, I don't think it'll be her fault, but what will happen if I boost the budget by 20 crores? There's a guy in the back who'll start telling her that,
Hmm.
Anukampa, you have to make this guy do this. Okay? And try to force him to get this one actor that we need to get. So at least हमारा 5 crore जो आने वाला है ना, वो तो मिल ही जाएगा हमको, अगर वो मिल जाए. Now, those things will not occur if you want to do it a film like ours, you know. So like
Yeah.
when we and when before Anukampa was on it and me and Shan were there, and we were running around trying to see if we can maybe get a little bit more money or how much money we can reach. Every time we would hit a wall with talking to people would be, listen, we can give you a little bit more money, but you need to first of all, if you're doing it improvised pre-production, which is rehearsals, man, write a script in words based on that improvisation and use that script to shoot it so we know what you're shooting. But I'm like, that is not the point. The point that is different. That is a different process that people take for that, and that's fine. But that's not what we're trying to do. So SHGs and it keeps coming in the way of it, and it's largely a producer director team that makes at the end, especially in those early stages when nobody is there. There's no actors involved. Nobody's there. It's just these two people and sometimes maybe a cinematographer as well who's come on early. Just these three people who are trying to make something work. It's this,
Hmm.
and you have to try to you're making critical, crucial decisions at that time, which are going to affect the fate of the film for the rest of eternity. Like once the film comes out, that's the film is out. Now this you'll get money, maybe you'll get a lot of money and get sorted for the rest of your life, but then you're going to be wearing that tattoo
Yeah.
thing. It's just that's how I think of it, and I find it very difficult to accept those decisions. It's really hard.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah,
Well, then
that was
something
my
very
question.
honestly, Vasundhara, when I myself read the script, my first reading was, of course, as an actor, and then um, I think even when I came on board as a producer, I myself wasn't sure of Karan's vision. Like I had faith in him because I knew him personally. I had already worked with Shan. I knew Shan. I read his stories. I have. It's like you listen to your gut and you have immense faith in someone's artistic capabilities. And I had not even seen Cher at that point in time. Oh, for me, it was just that. But if somebody asked me what's he trying to make, what's Fairy Folk about, I would have a very vague answer. I'm like, Karan, tum bata do. Like, Karan
Yeah.
batayega. It was
I don't think
always
I had also. I don't think I had a vision of what it like how it's gonna land up like this. Because
and
that's the fun when I'm doing
yeah,
it. I'm looking
we
for.
all knew what the story would be about, but also very interestingly, we all had our own unique interpretations of the story when we were making the film. Like Karan had, so yeah, this film is about so and so. I would feel that the film is about um, how people will look for different versions of the same partner and still not be satisfied. Somebody else would have a
Mm-hmm.
different interpretation of that. Uh, but yeah, we ourselves were learning what the film was that we were making. But he was the person who was clearest about it.
Yeah.
which
So
is
that
which is
was
at
my takeaway
20%
also.
clarity. Yeah, sorry. Which is she's the person clears about it who
So
also had only 20% clarity at that time. Yeah.
I think that makes it more fun because I can
Yeah.
understand while you are going through the process and in the process of creation of the film, you will have even more less clarity than the audience who has finally watched it, which is
Yes.
like I spent some time actually processing it and absorbing it what I just watched and kind of replayed some of the dialogues and scenes in my mind to understand it better, but
Yeah.
it's something that is very close to reality, which is you know which is amazing because it's a surreal movie. It's not close to reality in the superficial sense, but it is close to reality when you look at the depths of it. So yeah, because you know there are these relationships between urban couples or wherever couples are just, but we are more familiar with these kind of setups. And then I also noticed that they're so casual about bringing this being home, and they're like ठीक है रखेंगे कुछ सिखा देंगे ऐसे train कर देंगे. It's like action one, action two, you bring this, bring that. So
Yeah.
it also highlighted that how much they were kind of settled in their mundane life, not really looking for adventure. And even if adventure comes their way, they're like, okay, fine, chal raha hai
Yeah.
to chalne do, something like that. So that
Yeah.
was very fascinating, and the beginning itself, got me very engaged in it because the first thing is they see it in the forest. That's the very first scene, the car breaking down, and then immediately they bring it home. It's like okay, and then the audience themselves will get very much invested that what is going to happen next. And
It's
with
this. Yeah.
every yeah,
Yeah.
with every
It,
scene, it's like something new is coming up. Then you have to understand it, which is the best part.
yeah, that's what. So I said, yeah, instead of let's not treat the people who are watching it like idiots. Let's treat them to be smarter
Yeah.
than that they can catch up with us, rather than us
Hmm,
having to
hmm.
always pander to them and them being ahead. Like, I don't want you guys to be ahead. What the hell is the fun in that then? I mean, if I tell you Hussein Bolt's going to win every single race, then that's what's going to happen. And suddenly one day he
Yeah,
loses. The fun part is the one is when he loses and you're like, oh God, that was not expected at all, you know?
right. Yeah, that makes total sense. That's why it's the approach that is very unique because there are so many independent films coming, and I mean, obviously, so many films are struggling to get distributed. Many people are coming up with their own websites, like you did. Many people are creating new OTT platforms for putting their films in. So, a lot of things are happening because when OTT space came, everybody was kind of hopeful that, okay, everyone will have a voice there, but that's not the case anymore because there's a lot of lobbying happening there it's also. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you opened up this platform. But so my question would be, what made you do it as a like a pay as you like basis? Because I think this is the first time I am seeing something like this, and there's no subscription, no, pay per view with a fixed price. So
Yeah.
what made you think of something like this?
So the research on pay as you like is that as a business model, it actually is as functional as a minimum purchase. So if you put 100 rupees minimum and maximum, so you can't, if you say your movie is worth 100 rupees, nothing more, nothing less, you have to pay this flat price. That has a less success rate than telling people that you will watch it for free and you can pay as
Hmm.
much as you want. And the average of that is also 100 rupees will also be the minimum purchase rate that you think it is. However, the pay-as-you-like model, mate, has worked in the favor of you will be uh, you can be available for longer than that, in the sense that you will not be deemed of like a flopped business. You will not reach that level until much later if it does not work out for you. So, for example, if I put this as 100 rupees minimum, maybe in 2 months or so, I will start seeing everything plummet downwards, right?
Hmm.
This will not happen in the pay as you like. It will continue to sustain because you allow word of mouth to exist for the people who watch it for free are still watching it. They will still consume it and they will still talk about it. Now, in a restaurant, for example, like my wife runs this cafe and they do pay as you like a lot. And I used to keep thinking it's
Oh,
not going to work. Why don't you just do a minimum at least? They said, but it does not in the long run. It is still the same thing we get. We still get $1,000 for the dinner, even though we say it's for free. Everybody pays 500, 800, 5,000, 2,000. There are all these weird offsets that happen. And also it seems to also cater to the person's to an individual's ability to pay as well. I mean, some people
Hmm.
just
Hmm.
can't pay $100 for something. We'll get 1 rupee and 10 rupees and 5 rupees also. Razor pay things I'll get. I'll get zeros is also like if I've got 200 people who have paid so far, I think we have about 500 people who have watched it for free. But that's okay. That's not a problem. Let them watch it. Because those 500 people may say at least one guy would have told another guy to pay,
Yeah.
and that one guy would have paid, or whatever it might be. So it works in the long run. I think Radiohead did it with the was it In Rainbows or a Moon Shaped Pool? One of those albums they did it as damn successful. I know they're Radiohead, we're not Radiohead at all, but I'm saying they managed to do it in a huge scale and they are very commercial. They could have sold it, they could have done anything they wanted, but they were like, I think the point is the music to get out there, and then we'll figure out the money part later.
Hmm.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that.
That's
I
very
think
interesting. I did not think of it. Yeah.
there's something very powerful when you tell a person that you have the choice.
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
think when you tell a person तुम्हें इतना देना पड़ेगा, they may or may not, they might feel put off, they might whatever, they will gauge, is it worth it, is it not worth it. But the minute you say that you decide the worth, suddenly a person feels in power of saying that, oh, okay, I can.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that's also when people's large heartedness comes out when they have to
Yeah.
make decisions like this.
And you also
Hmm.
And
you sorry to cut you off. Say finish.
no, you say.
No. I was just going to say also that you piracy proof yourself. So
Hmm.
in all instances, you can create a
Yeah.
password for free on the website. You can hit the number 0 and create the password for free, and you can watch it for 48 hours. Once you're done with 48 hours, again create a password for free, and you can watch it again. Nobody is going to take this movie and put it onto a website for free, because just watch it on the website for free. Nobody cares that you're going to take it somewhere else or whatever you're going to do with it. So, like, that's again what Radiohead was saying, the same thing. They were saying that instead of us getting pirated, just we will give it to you for free in a legal manner. You just listen to whatever you want to listen to and pay as much as you like at that point in time. And that works so well. And I remember, I think Mukul or somebody else, one of the actors, was also telling me that, listen, are you sure this is going to work? Just put a minimum. Say put 50 rupees as a minimum, so at least we'll get a minimum. But I said, as soon as you put a minimum, you begin to do what Anukampa is saying, where somebody
Hmm.
begins to think of it that is it worth 50 rupees even? What do these guys think of themselves? All these questions. Like I would also think of that. Like
Yeah,
independent
yeah,
book,
yeah.
the paisa le rahe ho, and fuck all that. Don't do all that.
But as is apparent, Karan has spent a lot of time on this, and this is the total credit of this goes to Karan. He spent over 2 months. He is a wizard when it comes to doing anything technical. I mean, apart from being artistic as well, because on set also he was the person who handled sound, and at the same time we had three cameras running for every scene. So along with the DOP Abhinay Khoparzi, who's also like along with Shan, Abhinay Siddharth, who's also a producer on the film, Shazib, who's also helped us producing the film and is the executive producer. These are all childhood friends in a way. They've grown up together. So they anyways have a rapport. But when Abhinay was set up the cameras, Karan is also checking the focus. Saath mein. So
Yeah.
this website is Karan's baby.
Yeah, and I am aware that Karan has worked as a sound designer on multiple films, so films like NH10, Titli, and some other films as
Yeah,
well,
like
right?
background score. Yeah, composing for
Yeah,
them. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I have seen people in other technical departments coming to direction. For example, many cinematographers have become directors. What made you want to become a director from a, sound or music background? What was the
I think
motivation for
I
that?
was a director. I wanted to make music for movies back when I was a kid, but I realized nobody's going to just give it to you like that because they all want. Because in India you have to know somebody and all that stuff. So I said I'll just make a movie and then score the movie and see where I get with that. So I made the first movie for making music for it. But then I
Okay.
really liked also making the movie, which was also really fun. So I said, okay, let's just make movies. And then I was broke. And when you're broke, you start doing weird things, such as doing scores for other people. So then I started composing scores for other people. And that gave me money to sort of survive however long I needed it to. But I think the focus has always been trying to make your own movies, and it still is that. So like
Yeah.
right now, also I'm not doing scores and stuff. I'm doing like coding for like other people for companies, like front end coding on React and fucking JavaScript, and just do that, make some money on the thing, and then do your films on the side.
You
Because
Okay.
it's
actually
just
made you actually made Share to compose the music. I didn't know that.
yeah, no, it was that was one of the main reasons. So it was a short film first, and then we made it into a long film because I realized I was going to that Pend, which was next to Nagaon, for getting that Murti for share. And while I was driving there, I was like, it's too long of a journey to just make a short film out of this. I have to make this into a feature.
God.
It's too much work. So I was like, fuck, just make it into a feature film. Doesn't matter.
So I guess even this is an improvised journey for you.
Yeah, yeah, I have to, man. There's
A
no other
lot
way.
of go with the flow thing going on here, whether it's the film itself, its interpretation, or the pay as you like thing, everything is kind of go with the flow, go
But
with
it
the
never
flow, which is
starts. It always starts with
amazing.
a focus in mind that, yeah, we need to make movies, like make this movie, and you have to make a movie. You can't just sit around. What the fuck are you doing in
Yeah.
your life? And then you start doing it, and then you realize that, yeah, but I don't want to do it like that because that's just boring. And then I don't, and then it just becomes this thing that, this weird improvised thing or whatever it might be like that. Yeah.
It's not weird.
You know, but it is whatever. Yeah.
Weird in a good way. Yeah, yeah,
Weird
yeah,
in a good way. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, this question is for both of you, whoever wants to answer. What are some of the main challenges you face during the making of the film, like the shooting process or finding the locations, or I mean, most of it is indoors, obviously. But how did you decide that you want to keep it a certain way in order to use the resources in the best possible way? So, how did you go about something like that? Who wants to
Chill.
answer?
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Okay. Um, I think when I started this journey, and perhaps I can speak for all of us, there was this sense of naive positivity, like this naive optimism that makes you feel like anything is possible. So at that point in time, we were not thinking of it as a challenge. But today, when
Hmm.
I look back at it, I'm like, okay, I do not know how we did that. I don't think we can do it again.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things that we had to deal with was the fact that because we are making an improv film, it has to be shot in a linear manner. So we have to go from scene one to scene two to scene three because the dialogues in scene one will decide the quality and the kind of conversation in scene two. And if something is mentioned in scene two, someone's name has come up suddenly, some joke is cracked, something that will affect scene three. which
Yeah.
meant that if the first scene is in the jungle, the second is in the living room, and the third is in the jungle, and the fourth is in the living room, we have to keep changing locations in that order, no matter how far it is.
Mm-hmm.
We have to pack up, take all our equipment, go there, finish that, then we have to pack up, go back now to the. And sometimes we are shooting guerrilla style. We have not really taken proper permission, or even the house in which we were shooting, which belongs to Gitika Vidya, and she was the one who was, you know, again, large-hearted enough to just respond to one of my posts and say, yeah, my bhai and my bhai's house over here in Bombay, where when she was moving in, because it was just around the time Sony was going to film festivals. And she said,
Mm-hmm.
please come. And it was a 3 BHK home, but we were not telling the society we are shooting over there. So we would sneak in our equipment late at night, and we had, put everything in one room. And we had also made a story that in case they say कि ज्यादा लोग आ रहे हैं या कैमरा दिख गया, so we will say गीतिका की शादी हो रही है, हम एक प्री वेडिंग वीडियो बना रहे हैं. So we
Okay.
had that backstory ready and everything. But if you want to hide this fact and still you're going with your boom and your equipment in and out, but like I said, there was just so much optimism, and we had
Mm.
the most wonderful, like a tiny crew, but most wonderful, and I must name them. There's Himanshu Sharma and Mohini Nirmal, and they were doing everything. Like from, I think initially Himanshu came as Karan's DA, but eventually he was doing everything in the direction and production team, and so was Mohini. And then of course there's Rishabh, who was Abhinay's assistant with the camera. So again, three cameras being handled by these people, and I think between all of us, I have no idea how we pulled this off. All of it was quite challenging. Imagine going with Nikhil, who's playing human
Mm.
in the jungle, who is the way he is with the prosthetics and
Mm.
that t-shirt, which by the way I had picked up from D-Mart, and it was a brand new t-shirt where he kept on saying it needs to look hundreds of years old, and I just kept sitting and cutting it up with the blade, burning it, putting mud all over it. And then we have this person, we kind of sneak into this very famous location. I can't name right now I'm not sure what the legal repercussions of it might be. And we go in there, and they sneak into some green area, like some green forested area, but there are people outside, and we have to
Yeah.
just keep manning that and make sure that nobody interrupts. But it's not even like we are normally dressed. We have human. If somebody
Mm.
catches us, what do we even say? What are we shooting?
Yeah.
Some cult you have.
Yeah,
It's some
yeah,
cult thing here.
exactly. Yeah, some cult thing for
No,
sure.
but those prosthetics and all were he was doing it somewhere else and bringing it in, or like it was done on the spot.
Both, I
No,
think.
yeah,
Yeah. Little bit off and little bit on because you need to
yeah.
keep touching it up as well, and things would fall apart.
Mm.
All
No
that. So
eyebrows, nothing.
yeah, no eyebrow. That was tough. So eyebrow. We had to do the like there was some prosthetic that we used at the start, and then because you have to like shave and all that stuff, and hair grows back, and then glue
Mm.
harder to stick on, and those things. So after a while, I think I had to do a lot of. I had to just rely on the fact that I have to just sit in post production and sit there and mat it, like just mask and remove stuff by hand. So that went on for 3 4 months in post production, just sitting there and frame by frame going and removing hair. So yeah,
Mm.
but you have to do that because I think it becomes too much for the person to sit through. He was really cool because in the start he got a full body wax and he did all those things in a lot of pain. He got everything done. And he said, "Bro, this is really tough, and I don't think I can do this again." I said, "Yeah, I totally get it." So luckily, he did that for the first 3 or 4 days. That worked, and then after a while, that's the hair started coming back, and then we had to like keep
Mm.
figuring out new ways of doing things. And there's one big thing that we did at the start, but I don't want to talk about that because then it just takes it away from what the movie is. So just leave that. I'd say it later, if ever. It's fun though.
Okay.
But she can write spoiler ahead, and we can say it later. Anyway.
No, no, no. But it's not a spoiler. It becomes like about behind the scenes of the film, and then you can't ever put yourself back in that scene again if you say it because it becomes
If
too
you
common.
don't want to say, it's totally fine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, it's okay.
But Basundhara, the person, in fact, when he's talking about it, the one person who can rightly speak about the challenges of the shoot is happens to be Nikhil Desai. Like
Nikhil actually. Yeah.
Nikhil Desai, my heart goes out to him. He's such a real star for having not just been so cooperative in what he
Yeah.
was doing. Like he's shaving one day, waxing the other day, gone to the barber, coming back. Then Saloni Rambia, who did the prosthetics. I mean, they both were working in. We didn't have vanity vans, obviously. We were working in
Hmm.
Geetika's house, whichever room was available. They could do makeup over there. And then, okay, either an Uber or if we had a car coming in that, sitting in the AC to make sure it's not melting, the makeup is not melting. But when you're outside, you're outside. So in that
Hmm.
forest area where we have shot, I literally had a chatai again. I think I bought it from one of these D-Mart places and all. And I used to carry that chatai with me and lay it out over there. And that's where the touch up would happen. And he had one silk robe, one of those, in fact, one of those silk robes that we have picked up from Bandra, which is a very sexy chick on it. And we had given him that silk robe to, wear. And he was just so cooperative. I've never once heard him complain during the entire shoot that I'm uncomfortable. In fact, I have a picture of him one day sleeping in the equipment room because all other rooms were occupied. The small little room in which all the equipment was there. He was just like waiting for the shot and just sitting over there. Absolute star.
So and
Hmm.
also we were a little strict about certain things where I was a little strict about certain things because I thought it would get in the way of the improv. Was that if I called cut and everybody took a break, and especially in the first few scenes, because we were shooting it linearly, so we were following the script. So if Mukul's character, which is Mohit, and Nikhil's character, which is that being, if the camera was not rolling, I didn't want them to hang with each other and talk to each other because that would get in the way of what they would do later. So it was always a very cold relation. So that means for the first maybe 5 or 6 or 7 days, every time I would call cut, Nikhil would have to go into this room that was on the side with the makeup person, and they would sit there. And Mukul could go and be with anybody else who was in the actor's room. And so we had to keep splitting people. So even when, like the day when Hansa comes, when Hansa is
Hmm.
going to appear, we didn't want Mukul and these guys to see what Hansa looks like or anything. So again, he would come and just sit in this other room for a while and then do it. That first day that we were shooting where that being appears in front of the car, again, Nikhil was like some fucking 5 kilometers away in some trailer somewhere getting ready because he had to be like completely naked with that thing and all with the robe. So, and Rasika and Mukul had never seen how this guy looks. So the first time that they saw him was in the take that you saw. And when
Oh.
Rasika's screaming was actually her screaming because she has forgotten the first scene in the movie. She used to
Okay.
forget. Like so she had I think done this and she was in the middle of promoting Manto, I think it was, and she had completely blocked out this movie for like the longest time. And she was like, it's improv, so then we'll just take it as improv. So she was using that. So then she sat in the car and she said, Karan, what happens in this scene? She said, okay, okay, no, no, don't tell me. We'll just see what happens. And then this thing appears and she sees it and she flipped out on it. So she that was damn funny. I thought the first take was actually the take that they flipped out the most on. Yeah. That was cool.
Correct. Had you not asked me also to not interact with Rasika much? I'm forgetting, but I have a vague memory of it.
But I don't think we could avoid that because of
No, no,
using the
I could not. I mean,
maybe.
but I could not be over friendly with her because
Ah,
initially all the actors who had to be someone, like for example, if you had to be a version of Mohit or be a version of Rasika, those actors were not supposed to get like over
Hmm.
over. They have to observe them, but not get over familiar with the couple, if I'm not
Hmm.
mistaken.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah,
And
yeah, I
because
think
there are
so.
new people coming into their lives in some way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and let's keep the conversation fresh. Like don't make the conversation happen on camera rather than off it. I didn't want Asmit, who plays Hansa, to have had a rapport with Rasika before, even though they kind of knew each other in the theater scene and all that stuff. But they would, when they sort of bumped into each other before we were shooting the film, and they just sort of looked at each other and didn't speak because they said that, hey man, Karan told us not to talk to each other, so let's not talk. So then they left it, and then they spoke as much as they wanted while being on camera, which really helped in that case. Yeah.
Yeah, there's this very, girl time scene happening in a salon. That was nice. Yeah. Uh,
Set up by a
yeah,
man,
but I
yeah.
love that twist about, Hansa having a man's body and then Mohit completely flipping out. Like, I asked for something, like she's getting what she wanted. Why am I not getting?
And he's
So, but yeah,
frustrated.
eventually,
Yeah.
like I also wrote in my post, happiness is elusive. So in the end, nobody is really happy. So that's the truth of life.
Yeah.
Just one question that there was a comment on my post also where someone said it was a miracle that the film ran in theaters. And I also saw Sucharita Tyagi's review of the film, where she also says the same thing. And but Anukampa replied to that particular comment saying that it's not a miracle, it's a result of all our hard work. So
Yeah.
what is your response to these kind of comments? Because people actually do think that such kind of indie films, if they run in the theater for how many number of days it is, the just getting a theater release is a miracle. But so how did you make that happen, and how much of it would you call a miracle? How much would you call your honest efforts? So yeah,
I
that is
think
my
you have
question.
to you just have to know certain pieces. The miracle part of it is the luck that we have on our side, where we did share back in the day, and that PVR Directors Rare was there then, and PVR Directors Rare was started by Sheila Ditya Bora, who continues even now to sort of support independent films and those things,
Hmm.
even with a limited budget. So when I thought that, I was like, man, if you're not, we were trying to do OTTs first. So we obviously went around and said, hey, Netflix, Amazon, whatever. And then the rule came out from Amazon primarily that we will not look at any film that haven't had a theatrical release. So now we're like, okay, now we have to figure out how to get a theatrical. So then I spoke to Sheel and I was like, Sheel, man, are you still doing that? He says, yeah, I do have Platoon Films, which does distribution as well. And then he was like, I was like, listen, can you give me the money that you would require to distribute a film like this? So he gave me his tiers, that the different tiers and how much you need to spend for whatever. So his least tier was at an amount that I said that, listen, I can't afford your least tier. I can't even do that. So he said, how much can you do in this thing? So I thought about how much money can we possibly raise. So I gave him a number. He said, देख भाई इसमें ना मेरा पैसा नहीं होने वाला तेरा पैसा किसी का नहीं होने वाला मगर चल because we know each other and because we did the film together and because this is a really independent film, I'll try to make this work or whatever. So he really pulled it from there. He said, we'll try to get these 5 screens done or 4 screens, 3 screens, whatever we did. And he really pulled it off, man. And that part was great of him. And it was sort of, then we had to work in tandem. So it's like, get him all the stuff, which is CBFC, getting that censorship takes like 4 months because it's just a constant back and forth
Hmm.
with these guys who don't respond on time and you don't do whatever. And then it was like I got the censor certificate, I think maybe 3 days before we had to release DCPs, which is nuts. You can't be so on the line with it. But yeah, but we pulled it off, man, and he helped us out a lot with that. It's a it's a function of money. I mean, if you got 10 lakhs, if you can save 10 lakhs from your budget, you can do a limited theatrical release. But
Hmm.
you'll get a PR. You can get theatrical release is only for the sake of getting a PR campaign running behind it, because the PR will not run without a theatrical release. So if you
Right.
can get that running, then that really helps in pushing for OTTs and all to forget about, because OTTs you will not. I think what's very clear about OTTs now is that if you do not have an actor or actors who are in the top tier, who are raking in money, they will not take it from. They've become theatrical distribution of the 90s. So when we were with theatrical distribution, no, 1993, man, no one was taking a film with 2 actors who you don't know and putting it into theaters. Nobody
Yeah.
was doing that. OTTs are doing that now with their Netflixes and all. Netflix will not take anything without a big name in it. So I mean, so that sucks. And I was talking to Dave Makhija as well, who did Joram
Mm-hmm.
and all that stuff this
Joram.
time.
Yeah.
He's also been really upset by this whole thing and all. But he's one level above me where he has gone through it all and he sort of made peace with it. And he's like, "Ab kya kare? Kuch nahi kar sakte. This is what the thing is, and we'll all die like this. Like this is what we have to do." And then he was also saying that without an actor, you can't push. Don't even try doing it without a thing like that. And and I think we were both talking about the fact that the only way to get independent films now again is to wait for a flux in distribution systems changing, which is what
Hmm.
happened in 2014, 2015, 2016 is when we got Share released. So Share became the first package to go out to Netflix from India for the Hindi stuff. Yeah, 15 films went, and Share was one of them. We managed to do this only because it was new. Wait for 3 more years after that, the big guys pick up, and the big guys
Yeah.
quickly put their ears to the thing, and then COVID came from the side, and they picked up even more, and then independent is completely out. Now wait again till everybody messes everything up, and then again it'll go into some weird flux. Suddenly you'll find out that in your glasses you can have independent cinema playing on your right eye, and the left eye can play mass, and we can get into the right eye, and now we'll get fairy folk releasing this. That's how it is today.
Yeah.
Weird shit, dude.
What was your censor board experience, Karan, with the film?
I was
It
going
was
to ask that.
okay, it was fine. Censor wise, it was fine. The actual process was just long. Like when I went to the censor thing and the theater was there and they watched it, I was sitting outside as you do, and I was like, man, they're gonna cut the thing for the nudity and they're gonna do all that stuff.
You're
And
putting a newspaper there, should be fine.
newspaper, and then but then I had the scene in the trailer scene where his bum is right there and he's the
Oh
dining
yeah.
table is they're talking. So I went there after that and I said that Pata nahi kya karenge. So then I walked in and there were five of them there and they were like, I was like, wait, before you guys say anything, I'll have to cut those nudity things. They said, no, 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 you don't have to cut any of the nudity things. Those are all man nudity things. That's okay. If it was women, that's a different thing. I said, okay, take it. That's fine. Chal. I'm not even going to argue this women stuff right now.
Whatever works.
Yeah, whatever. I don't care. So then they said that the next thing you do have to cut, Karan, is that any galis that are given which involve women. So that's mother, like MC, BCs, all those you got to cut out. I said, but I'm allowed to say fuck. I'm allowed to say mother. But if I say mother fuck together, that is not allowed. They said, yeah. And they said, don't argue with her. There's orders from the top. We can't help it. I said, so how do I do that scene at the poker table where they're swearing at each other? So that man said a very nice thing. He said, you're so creative that you made this film. I'm sure you'll be able to find a solution that is creative enough to figure this out also. I said, you're right, dude. Let's do it then. And I just cut out the dialogues. What else? What else can I do? But cut the dialogues. I'm not going to replace them with
Who
anything.
was this
So,
guy?
huh?
Who was this guy?
I don't know. I forgot his name, yeah. But he's there. He must be there on the censor certificate ka name. He must be there. They're sweet
Okay.
people, though. I mean, they were just doing, I thought they would have been much more stricter. And I think if I had Ajay Devgan in my film with Akshay Kumar and thing, it would have been much worse. The cuts would have been heavier.
Yeah,
Hmm.
obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think he
Yeah,
got
but this
lucky.
is yeah, this is good to know for filmmakers who are trying to
No, no, but
get around these kind of
this is
things.
not usual. Like I have too many censor wala stories because of mum having been in CBFC for the longest time in the 90s also recently also. So I think he got really lucky with the people who were in the room.
Hmm.
There are sometimes people like mom has been in rooms where Game of Thrones was getting discussed. And they have not seen Game of Thrones. They have not seen the initial season. They're looking at season 5 and they want to censor that. And
Hmm.
like those kind of discussions, it can get very bizarre sometimes.
It's also the
Hmm.
scope. I think they do look at the scope of release. They also look at how much can it affect. Like,
Yeah.
like I was saying, I think if it's a big distribution, if it's a 150 crore movie that you know is going to reach many people releasing on 1,000 screens or 5,000 screens, they'll be like, dude, we got to press the brake. Plus, I will not agree to that on an A. I need a UA for that, right? And they said that, are you okay with the A? I said, yes, I want an A. I don't want kids watching my movie. And they said that if you want a
Hmm.
UA, then brother, get ready for cuts. Then we're cutting everything. Then you won't have a film left. Then there's like a lot of those scenes are gonna go that you have. I said, okay, then forget it. Let's just do A only. It's fine.
Actually, that's a very valid point because they are a certification board. Technically, they'll tell you whether what you're made is for adults or whether it's for the family. But most
Yeah,
directors, they want a family film to earn more. And
yeah.
then
Hmm.
therefore they have to face cuts. So they will not tell you that why they are facing cuts. They are facing cuts because they have been told कि आप इसको adult बना दो. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
But this I understand. This is cool.
But also doesn't make sense because then adults can hear the word motherfucker, na? I think adults
Exactly.
would.
That is some new mandate that's come about not abusing women. Yeah, I know.
And also, like, I came out of the movie theater and then I was happy that at least the censor did not chop everything and all. And then Sheil was like, did you get the certificate? I said, yeah. And Sheil is like, please tell me you got a UA. I said, dude, I got an A. I can't get a UA. He said, bro, if you can reapply and get a UA, cut whatever you want to, then at least we can earn a couple of lakhs off of selling TV rights. I said, dude, forget it. I can't do UA. UA would just chop everything up, man. Like, we just did
Hmm.
airborne rights for selling for the Dubai UAE ka thing and all that stuff. And that the woman was like, listen, we have to censor a lot of your movie to get it up there. I said, you have to just let me see the cut that you're putting because if it's 20 minutes shorter than the film, then I don't know what to do. Like, it's going to be really bad. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think now with the online release, it's reaching more people, which is what the initial intention was. So I think all
Yeah.
is good now. And
Good.
I think many people have watched it after my recommendation also, which makes me very happy.
You.
I
Yeah.
think
Thank you.
I'm doing a good job on that
You are,
front.
you are. Thank you. Thanks so much for sharing about it also. It really helped. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it did.
now when I put out this video, more and more people will watch, hopefully.
Super.
Um,
Super. Yeah.
what do you think is the future of independent filmmaking in India, and what kind of support do you expect to get from the film fraternity and also from like the OTT platforms and all? Like you said, in the beginning it was much easier and now it has become worse. So do you see that turning around in the near future, or independent filmmakers have to, keep trying to put their films in individual websites and some OTT platforms that only prefer independent films, something like that? So what do you think is the way forward?
Campa say? I'm not sure.
I feel it is uh, not looking very optimistic right now. If you speak to filmmakers and not just in independent cinema, I think if you meet people generally, also you come this side, hang out in Aram Nagar, hang out in all the places where people meet in coffee shops, they will tell you about अरे काम बहुत ठंडा चल रहा है. Because
Hmm.
there's just so much uncertainty around what is working. I have seen some of the most mediocre stuff somehow, claim that they have made huge returns
Yeah.
and everything, and then good cinema coming and getting completely unnoticed.
Also,
So
there's a lot of
I
quantity over quality, a lot of it.
lot of it, yeah. And
Yeah.
I'm not even sure whether what they're projecting, the numbers and all, whether it's part of PR or whether it's actually real. Like a movie like Maidan, I think it came and went, people were not watching, but it's actually a pretty well made film. And but there are other films which have made a lot of money, and I would not watch them.
Hmm.
So the point is that I think overall there is a lot of uncertainty in the industry as to what the next steps are. So therefore, for independent filmmakers, it's even more so, which is why I keep on saying that what Karan has done with this pay as you like, a huge amount of uh, just optimism to filmmakers out there, because if this model can work, then I think there is faith, because even the investors who are putting in money into a film will know that there is a way to get that money back. And for us also, I think the reason we have not given up and Karan has worked so hard on bringing our film out there is because we want to be able to show our
Hmm.
faces to our investors and say that, you supported us at a time we needed you, and we want to keep that faith, and we want to come back with that money. We want to make our next film, whatever that might be, independent, bigger, with a
Yeah.
star, next Nolan stuff, jo bhi hoga. But
Hmm.
Yeah.
I think we really need this model to work for independent cinema, and it might be a little too self-important for me to say that. But right now, I don't think anything else has come that is as good as this in terms of just being promising.
Hmm. True.
I
But
don't know.
so
I think, yeah. Sorry. Sorry.
no, no, no. I was turning around the question for you a bit, but please continue.
No, I think everything that she's saying, I think it's that you were also saying earlier that uh, these OTTs had come in and they were letting these voices being heard, many voices that were not having a voice. Sometimes I feel that not all voices should be heard also. I mean, a lot of them, it
That's
is why we have a problem now. It's oversaturated with voices which were just at the right place at the right time without any sort of craft or skill or any honesty about what they were trying to do. And I meet them a lot. And it's just it gets exhausting after a while that just like think a little bit harder before you make the film. The film should be a little difficult to make. It shouldn't be so easy to get a paycheck from a Netflix and Amazon. Please make it a little harder, and you don't and also have a system in place which is an honest system to assess whether somebody should be making films or not be making films. Like right now, just because somebody has a hit in some random thing somewhere does not mean the next thing he makes you give him 150 crores to make and then lose all your money in that 150 crore bet because you bet wrong. You know what I'm saying? And I think I've been saying this a little bit like to other people as well, is that back in the day when you have like a Yashraj Films and you have your Phantoms and you have these other film companies that were there in the 90s 2000s and all, we had these people who were family businesses were films. That means that
hmm.
they did not go anywhere else. They only did films. That means that their backup job, if Karan Johar was to leave films, whatever Karan Johar makes, Karan Johar makes. Okay, if Karan Johar was to quit films tomorrow, he's not going to quit and go to Zomato and run their marketing department. But if you look at a Netflix, Amazon, and apps in general, all apps, you don't see a Hotstar guy going into something else which is to do with films. He can go anywhere. He can
Hmm.
go to any app company because they're all the same now. So that is a huge difference. Their skin in the game has reduced so significantly that they don't have to take it seriously.
I want to say two things. I have a big problem which I keep saying again and again, when you tell a story, any story, it could be a magical, realist story like what Karan has made. It could be a very rural story like something that I might be writing. There are a lot of people sitting here in the city, and this is not in a specific platform. I'm saying generally, they might read something and say, "ऐसा थोड़ी ना होता है." And I
Hmm.
feel that there is this almost like people are looking at the world with blinders, where if you are in a city like Bombay, you think that all of society is a reflection of Bombay. So for example, even female liberation, women liberation looks like how the women in Bombay look like. And if I show you a liberated woman in a village but who has a gungat on her head, then it is
Hmm.
नहीं, ऐसा नहीं होता है. Somebody who is touching her ससुर का feet or putting oil on her mother-in-law, ऐसा थोड़ी ना. But no, the real, I think the reason they're not getting an audience for their content, and I hate using the word content because it makes it so impersonal, but whether it's film or series or whatever, it's because you're not connecting with the people you actually want to connect with. Then you will get that niche audience only,
Hmm.
those
Hmm.
poor urban cities and everything. And somewhere they need to like perhaps widen their worldview and be open-minded that okay, maybe somebody has an idea of what's happening. Like here's a
Yeah.
director who's making whatever he's making, he knows what he's saying, so let's not interfere with that. We may not be aware of the story that he's saying or which world that story has come from. And the
Yeah.
second thing which I was thinking of yesterday, and that might sound like a very optimistic thing, I feel like all the big production houses who are doing very well for themselves and are making stuff in multi crores. And when I say multi, this is like your 200, 300, 400, 500 crore game. I feel that as you know how people do charity, maybe on the side now they should have a wing. So my independent wing. I will make my big films. I will work with the Khans and Roshans and whoever. I'll make like the biggest of stuff out there and make sure that it goes to 500 screens and whatnot. But I will also put in the budget of one item song or maybe
Hmm.
two song with your 200, 500 dancers. That budget I will give to a filmmaker to make his or her independent film. And I think even if every big production house can just do that for one or two films, we will have more independent voices coming out.
Definitely.
And this
Yeah.
is the
That
world. This
sounds.
is sorry. This is I was going to say. I was going to add to that thing that this is the problem, not just in this is in the whole world. Like I think yesterday I saw a trailer of Channing Tatum and another woman who I know, an actor, really famous, both of them, and I love both of them. And then the trailer played, and at the end it said it was one of these big OTTs. Okay, I don't want to say the name of the OTT. It was one of those big OTTs. And then I just collapsed, and I was like, oh God, it's another shit film. It's going to be another shit film because it's these guys, and these guys only make shit films. They don't know how to make anything else. And then it's like if it says A24 or you see Annapurna and you see these other companies that were
Hmm.
putting again skin in the game, I, I don't have a problem with them making shit films. Even if they make a shit film, they will make it with pure honesty and they will fail because they are trying to polarize an audience. So they're giving in to an actor's director's vision or whatever it might be. These other guys are making shit films because their data is wrong. They have data that they're trying to use. They're trying to convert everything to algorithmic
Hmm.
based decisions, which is ridiculous. You cannot do that. It's just, oh God, if you play, anyway, forget it. It's just a different argument. it's just, it frustrates me. Like, this is my whole life. I have been working in this thing for 17 years, and it's just horrible the way it's in right now. The place that it's in right now. I care about it so much, which is why I have so much hate for it right now, what it's going through. Yeah.
That's permeated everywhere. I think
Yeah,
it is.
yeah, that's
It's not.
exactly what I was going to say. It's
Yeah,
it's all based on trends, right? So
yeah.
Yeah.
it's data and trends, and yeah, like the thing you're talking about, like having a independent charity kind of thing. That also, reminds me of this Ambani wedding and everything where people are saying they have so much money, why are you not donating? And then
God.
that's completely their discretion. Obviously, they can completely eradicate poverty from the country if they want,
Totally.
but it's
But
Yeah.
the
will
same
they?
kind of argument.
I said this when I've spoken to Paurush, and I actually believe in it that this entire obsession with virality is, I don't understand. I have a viral right now.
Yeah.
It will not last more than 5 days. I think that's what a viral is meant to be. It's meant to have a very, very short shelf life. But people are only focused on becoming viral and not immortal. And I think the power of cinema that we all have grown up seeing and have been inspired by have been that immortal
Hmm.
storytelling art form, right? We are looking at, like, during lockdown when I saw the kid Charlie Chaplin's. I think it was made in 1920 or 21, and I was sitting with mom and watching and laughing and crying and thinking, oh God, it's been 100 years. It's been 100 years since this film was made, and I'm sitting over here and I'm so immersed. And wow. But now it is like, ठीक है यार, million views मिल
Hmm.
गए,
Yeah,
2 दिन का हो गया. You're very, you're throwing a success party after that.
yeah,
Uh,
horrible.
and you remember earlier in the industry they used to have this entire thing. They would even have posters about how long a movie has been in the
Hmm.
theater.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
you had like a silver
50
jubilee,
days.
diamond jubilee, whatever, whatever. Now it is about how much money you made over the weekend and how much money in the first week and second week. It is no more about the longevity about of a story. It is about, okay, ठीक है, इतना पैसा है बनाया, इतना
Yeah.
recover कर लिया. It's all about numbers, and I don't understand that.
Who's putting the 3 star, 3 out of 5 star rating wala reviews on their poster? Why are they doing that? Who puts a 3 out of 5 star on their poster? They're doing that. What is wrong with
That's
you
the
guys?
best they have got.
Yeah, I'm like, what? Then just don't put
That
that.
also most probably it is a paid review. You never
Yeah,
know.
that's what.
Like the critic is thinking and he's like, okay, I would give this a 2 stars or 1.5, but since I'm getting paid, I have to do a more than average thing. But
And
Yeah, but
they,
it's like
have you seen those short films where it opens up and like, they show the trailer or whatever? There are multiple those festival
Lawrence.
the
laurels,
fellows.
and then when you open it up, it's some random festival that
Oh,
you
Hmm.
dude,
don't. It's like some local thing, but they like fill it up with so many laurels. You're like, "Arey wow."
crazy, crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
As I
And
sit
this
here, I just got 10 rupees from the website. Yeah, sorry, go on. From
no,
really.
I was saying that this poster, putting numbers on posters, and on the digital space, it has become like, uh, on the YouTube thumbnail, you have number of views, 20 million views, and it's a remix song. So songs have also got ruined to such a large extent, and I cannot stop talking about this because maybe some new song. First of all, I am now biased that no good new songs are coming. I'm a very
Yes.
early 2000s person, so I only go back to that, Sonu Nigam, Shreya Ghoshal, that kind of era.
Yeah.
But then,
Stuff.
even if a good new song comes, you have to gatekeep it because then it starts trending on reels and you get fed up of it so quick,
Yeah.
and it's everywhere. Everybody is dancing to the same song, or not even dancing, some random food vlog playing because it's a trending audio. So this trending thing is ruining the,
Ruining it.
art, whatever art is there, music, cinema, whatever, it's completely, and I mean, whatever, what can we do? This is how it is now.
Horrible.
Yeah. Amongst that, there are people working honestly towards making good films like you, so I'm grateful for that. And
Thanks.
so, any final message for people who are aspiring to be filmmakers and are not, in the big families or do not have enough resources, but really just want to make films? What would you like to tell them?
Oh, can I just say one thing since I now become older? Is before you decide to make a movie, just make sure that
Tajurba.
your taste in movies is good, and you run it by somebody who's older than you. So if you're 25 or 26 and decide to make a movie, just run your favorite films list by somebody who's older, and that guy will tell you whether you're good or not. Because, like, I find that my when my taste was at a 20-year-old level, I was watching absolute crap, and I was thinking in this weird way, which was only about these films that I had seen. And then once you get older, I think you automatically, whether you watch films or not or whatever, you just begin to have a more mature, because you're directing films is only making decisions, which is yes and no. And yes and no is only being governed by subjective taste that you have.
Hmm.
So when you say yes and no to some decision and it lands up being on the screen, it's only showing how good and bad your taste is. Especially if you make a movie which is independent like ours, where money does not have a place to decision making in this. Make sure that you're tuned in like that. Don't like great musicians don't become great music. You can't hack being a great musician, but you can hack being a good movie guy because you don't have to sit there with your hands and actually make a movie like how I have to make
Hmm.
it with you have to edit it yourself or whatever. Because you get other people to do it for you, but those people are going to keep asking you yes and no questions. and you're going to keep saying yes to trash, and you're going to keep saying no to good things.
It's a leadership skill in some way. Yeah.
It is, and you get
Hmm.
better as you get older, but you can quickly become better if you can watch the right movies, read the right things, and listen to the right music. Just do these three things, and you'll be good. Without making a single movie, just do these three things for a while, and you'll be okay. You'll do much
Hmm.
better. Yeah.
Yeah. Anukampa, you want to add something?
My advice has always been the same thing to anyone who wants to be part of this medium, that watch a lot of cinema. Just
Yeah.
watch, like, devour it like somebody who's
Mm-hmm.
famished. And I have been a little, not a little, very lucky, I would say, because I, through my conversations with Karan and Shan, I know that these boys are self-taught. They have, in fact, watched cinema together, recommending it to each other, and grown together in that sense. For me, I was growing up in a house where the best of cinema was playing, and that's because of my mother, and because of which Balawala cinema exists. Because Harsh Bala, who's my mom, just made sure that if she's watching a film, she never censored things in the sense that you leave the room because this might be mature for you or something. She let me have that little that judgment, that if she's interested, she'll watch it. If she has questions,
Mm-hmm.
I'll answer. So I watched the best of classics from the time I was a kid, and I know how much it has shaped the things that I gravitate towards and like. And I've also learned that there are no absolutes. I'm a little put off by superlatives, where you have these best
Hmm.
lists and
Yeah, I
greatest.
don't look at them
Like when
either.
people say this is the greatest film ever made, I'm like, are you telling me that you have the audacity, the gumption, and the ego that you have watched cinema in every language, from every region, from all times, and you have come up with these 20 names of saying these are the greatest films ever made? You
Even
just
for the
never
year.
know. Yeah, you might just never know what you connect with, and what moves you, and just keep watching and be language agnostic, and watch in the original language with subtitles. Train yourself for
Definitely.
that, because it's just so beautiful to keep discovering this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, perfect. I keep saying that to everybody as well. I have stopped being a dub person for a long time, and I like one eye is there and why one eye is on
It has
the
to be.
bottom of the screen. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so it was a great conversation. Thank you both of you for your time.
Yeah.
I don't know if I took some important hour from your Sunday because Sundays are important.
No, no, it's okay.
But
But please censor everything I've said. Remove everything I've said. Only take Anukampa's side. I think but that's okay. No, no, please put whatever. That's fine.
Thank you so much for supporting good cinema, no matter where it comes from. And of course, this is me kind of saying that we have made good cinema, but that's the point of this.
no, you have
Uh,
obviously. I'm
uh,
also looking
yeah,
forward to your upcoming film. The
uh,
trailer. Sorry, what was the
yeah,
name?
yeah. For
Jugnu.
Bindiya called Jugnu,
Ah,
Karan has
for
been working
Bindiya Call
on.
Jugnu.
Oh, is
Sorry.
that coming out now?
Yeah,
Yeah, the
Where is
trailer
it?
has released
we are
on
gonna have a
YouTube.
YouTube release.
Oh, nice. Okay, good,
Yeah,
good.
I'll send the
Fine.
trailer. But yeah, finally. But my point that I was saying is that it makes a huge difference when people like you, and you especially, I know that you have a very credible voice um, amongst people who love cinema and watch cinema, and it has really helped us in the initial days when we launched our site. And thank you so much for supporting us.
Yeah, thank
Yeah,
you.
and I just have to mention Natkhat once. I'm sorry, I missed out this whole time.
He's given the music for it, by the way,
Oh,
Karan.
you have? Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
and and Natkhat is so music heavy. It is like there's
Yeah,
one
yeah, yeah,
music
yeah.
piece to
It's
another. That's
very,
all Karan.
it
Yeah.
plays a very important part because
Yeah,
it's a
it
very
does.
important film, very well done. And yeah, I still keep talking about that film to everyone. So people, you need to watch both Fairy Folk and Natkhat. Uh,
Yeah.
and Natkhat is on Geo Cinema, right?
Yes,
Right now?
yes,
Yes,
yes.
it is available for free on Geo Cinema.
Very cool.
And yeah, so thanks once again, and have a nice rest of the day,
You too.
both of you.
You too.
Yeah,
Thank
I'll
Chalo.
you so much.